Hi all, this is Dr. Lena Luck, and I'm here today to go through the entry procedures for entering and being prepared for the Fonner Park State 4-H Horse Show held this summer, July 15th through the 19th. So we're going to go through just some common things that are asked regarding the state horse show, how to go through and enter yourself into the various classes you want to compete in, and some of the particular rules and what all paperwork you're going to need at the show and prior to the show. So some things that we've been asked are related to qualifications for the state horse show. Because if you didn't already know this, which we've announced it quite a while ago, but that there will not be district horse shows this summer. The purpose of those was to qualify youth for the state horse show. However, this year we are going to go right into, you can sign up directly for the state horse show. And so what that means is that we will still have those same requirements on classes as far as you must have completed specific advancement levels in order to compete in those classes. For instance, there's classes that require advancement level 1, advancement level 2, 3, and 4, depending on the class. So that is one thing. Please be aware of those advancement levels before signing up for classes. We will have county offices verify those advancement levels prior to the state horse show, that they have been passed. So that is something that will be double checked. We have had questions about if something happens to your horse, being able to change horses at the state horse show. So in the past, whatever horse you competed on at districts, you had to ride that same horse at state. But since we do not have that district qualification, youth are allowed to change horses up until the day of the classes they're competing in. However, there is one stipulation. That horse that they are switching to must have an ID form that was submitted to their county office by the June 1st deadline. So if you have multiple horses, ID all of them, turn in all the ID forms. Even if you don't plan on showing that particular horse, then you have that as a backup. If you only have one horse and they get hurt, if you didn't have another horse ID'd, then yes, you would not be able to change to a new horse that wasn't ID'd prior to June 1st deadline. Also, we've been asked about the age requirement, state fair for the livestock show, the dog show, community animal show, all those other state fair type contests. They did lower the age requirement. However, for the state horse show, we are not lowering the age requirement. It will remain that the youth need to be 10 years old as of January 1st. So however old your youth was on January 1st, that is the age they need to compete under at the state horse show. Okay, so let's get into the state horse show and some classes that are offered and those advancement level requirements. So you can see here, this gives a list of all the classes that they can compete in and puts them under those specific advancement levels. So do make sure you know what advancement level is required for the classes you're signing up for. In the entry form online, it does for most classes say what the advancement level was, except for maybe a couple, and then those you would just need to know. For instance, dressage, and then I want to say your halter classes potentially don't say level 1, but they do need to have completed level 1. So a couple stipulations that are in here. So our in-hand classes, so that would be your halter and showmanship. There are halter classes for yearlings all the way to aged mares and geldings. Also a mare and gelding miniature horse, mini pony type halter class. And then there's also 3 levels of showmanship. So elementary, junior, senior. So one thing to be sure of is you can only sign up for 3 of those. So you could pick potentially a showmanship class and 2 halter classes, or you could pick 3 halter classes. So that is very dependent on what you want to show in. One thing that we like to make sure and mention is if you have a miniature and you're showing in that mini halter or mare or gelding class, that you can show a mini in showmanship. So that is allowed, is acceptable. So don't feel like you can't also compete in showmanship. You do not have to have a big horse to compete in showmanship. There's no requirements for the size of the horse in showmanship. Next, we have our level 2 classes. So these are all of our classes that were previously held at the district horse shows. So one thing to note on these classes, they have to have completed advancement level 2. And then for our English classes, there are only 2 age divisions, whereas all the Western ones, there are 3. And part of that is just due to simple like numbers of participants in those classes. And so do be sure to pay attention when you are signing up for classes that have age requirements and age groups, that you are looking at what those age requirements are, because junior in Western Pleasure and junior in Hunter to Saddle are going to include different ages. So look at that before you sign up. Our level 3 classes, one thing to note on the level 3 classes, if you are planning to compete in the 2 and 3 or the 2-year-old or the 3-year-old Western Pleasure class, there is another form that you would need to submit when you turn in your ID forms to your county office. You would also need to submit an affidavit that's you have signed and you know the rules and regulations for those classes, which do require that the youth are the only one that has ridden and shown and worked with that horse. And so that is something we want to make sure you know, you understand, and you've signed off on it prior to showing so that you are eligible to compete in that class. We also have our advanced classes. So another thing on the advanced classes, so advanced horsemanship, advanced Western Pleasure, advanced hunt seat equitation, advanced hunter to saddle, those classes, you must ride a different horse than you rode in the level 2 regular class. So for instance, hunter under saddle, you could ride horse A, but if you did advanced hunter under saddle, you would have to have a different horse, so horse B, that you would compete under. So do be sure you're paying attention to that. We will check those. And then we will have to either scratch you from one of them, or you'll have to provide us with a different horse that you're going to compete in. So make sure you understand that before signing up for the advanced classes. Next, we have like English and Western dressage. So there is something new related to that. We will be splitting English and Western dressage into 2 classes. There will be a level 2 class and a level 3 class. English and Western will be combined. However, we will be separating and awarding ribbons for level 2 versus a level 3 class. We also have hunter hack. And then for our ranch riding, reining, and trail horse, again, there are age divisions for those 3 classes. So they are split junior, senior. So do be aware of the age requirements for junior and senior when signing up for those. And then we do have our miniature in-hand trail. And this class would be for those people that are competing with their minis and halter or showmanship. Here would be another class that they could compete in, and that would be the in-hand trail. However, there is an advancement level 3 requirement to compete in this class. If the youth has done the normal advancement level 3, they are eligible for this class. But there is also the option to do an in-hand level 3 in order to be able to compete in this class. So that is something that they could be working towards as well. And then lastly, in our level 3 class, we have our working ranch horse. And one thing to note on this is there is a cattle fee that goes along. So it's $35 in addition to the $10 entry fee. So it will be $45 total to enter the working ranch horse class. And then lastly, our only class that requires advancement level 4 is Western riding. Okay, so I wanted to show the schedule. I'm going to pull that up real quick. Let me see. So a couple things, if you are going to our website, so 4h.unl.edu/horse, that is where we post and provide all kinds of information. But on that page, if you scroll down to about the first little blocks, here in the middle is the Fonner Park State 4-H Horse Expo. You want to click on that. And that's going to take you to lots of information related to the State Horse Show. Once we have the new program, it will be put into here on this page. The State Horse Show program. It also has future dates for the State Horse Show. It has a volunteer interest form. So if you want to volunteer and help run a gate or do something, hand out ribbons at the State Horse Show, please fill out that form. But it also gives lodging and camper hookup information. Then if you click on this second tab that says State Horse Show, that is going to take you to, again, the same list of classes I just went over. Over here on the right-hand side, you're going to see the show schedule. So if you click on the show schedule, it will give you what classes are offered what day. I do recommend that you look at the schedule before signing up so you know I have classes on Sunday and then I have classes again on Tuesday, or I have classes Sunday, Monday. You know what you're signing up for. You know how long you have to stay in Grand Island for the horse show. A couple things to note on this is the show check-in will start at 3 p.m. on Saturday, and then we will start check-in and hippology that evening. We will also have a clinic that is still to be determined as to what that clinic topic will be about. But that will be an arena 2 that evening that youth can participate in. Another thing is we do have on here the hours for the arenas, what time we will lock up the doors and ask people to leave. I will say the indoor arena, we leave it open till 11 p.m. each night. However, if there are no youth in there riding after 10 p.m., we will close it. So don't wait till 10:30 to come over to ride. If you're going to ride in the arena and want to use it, be there before 10 p.m. so that you for sure get in and we don't close it up. Then looking at the schedule, most things have stayed the same as previous years. The only thing that is slightly different, which I'll talk about again here in a little while, is on Sunday, we have the horse judging contest and hippology judging phase. And typically in the past, we have gone over the results for those classes that evening. However, we are moving those results to Monday. Partly, we're usually trying to rush because the youth want to get over and compete in trail that's outside. And so they don't want to stick around for the results. And it causes some issues with that arena. Also, it's a lot of work for us to get those results in and tabulated and then double checked and triple checked and all of those things. And then we just don't really have time to make a big deal out of the results. And it is a big deal for those youth that are competing in hippology and horse judging. And we want to recognize them. We want to make it a big deal. And so we are going to move the results to midday Monday so that we can for sure have everything done. We can do a really good job and we can make a really big deal out of those youth and how well they did and for participating in those contests. So just something to note that is slightly different. There will also be another clinic on Monday evening. And then you can see we have the rest of the schedule for Tuesday and Wednesday. Okay, so that's the schedule. So next, I wanted to go back to the website. So we're still on the State Horse Show page, but then we're going to click on this button that says Entry. And here we're going to go through what you need to do to get entered in for the State Horse Show. So entries will open on May 1st. So anytime starting May 1st, you can start putting your entries in, and then we will close entries June 1st, and ideally June 1st at 5 p.m. So please do make sure you have your entries in by 5 p.m. on June 1st. Into the ShowWorks program, which I'm going to show you how to get to that here in just a minute. So entry fees are $10 per class, and then there is a one-time $10 office fee, and I'll cover that a little bit more when I'm in the program. You must complete your advancement levels. But then another part of all of this is you need to turn in horse ID forms. So from this page, you can get a PDF of it, a document of it. You can print that, you can fill it out. You can fill it out online and send pictures. Talk to your county office to what they will accept. But then you are going to print that off or do it through the email, and then you are going to send it or take it to your county office. So it is due to your county office by June 1st. One thing I would note on these is if you have multiple horses, fill out an ID form for all of them so that you have one and you have them as backups. They're there, they're turned in, that kind of thing. So any and all horses you could potentially ever want to show, please be sure to have those turned in to your county office by the June 1st deadline. Also, if you were showing that 2- and 3-year-old Western Pleasure, you can get that Western Pleasure affidavit right here on this site. Okay, so then moving to actually getting entered into the State Horse Show. So here on the website, it goes through all the various steps, but I'm going to take you to the actual website. So it's this inhorsefairwire.com. We're going to click on that. Let me sign out and start all over. Okay, so we are going to be on this page, and this is what it would take you to if you haven't been to it yet. It gives you some little information, tells you the deadline is June 1st. It also asks you to please use proper capitalization when you are filling out your entries. Please do not use all caps. Please do not use all lowercase. Please capitalize the first letter of a name, lowercase for the rest. And that is so that we can pull entries directly from this and they go directly into the program. And we don't have to fiddle with trying to format that one person is all caps and one person is all lowercase. If it is all lowercase, it's going to be put in the program that way. And your name is not going to look right, but that's going to be on whoever filled out your entries. That is on you. So please, please use proper names, proper capitalization for filling out your entry form. Okay, so to sign up, you're going to click sign in the top right corner, and it's going to take you to this drop-down list. And from here, there are lots of choices, but really only 2 of these are going to apply. So the first one is exhibitor. If you only have one youth to fill out an entry form for, then just click exhibitor and go through the process. If you are a parent to multiple youth that's going to be signing up, you may want to click on quick group, because then you can set it up where you can do one youth, then do another one, and you can do them all in the same one and then pay for it one time. Whereas if you do it exhibitor, you'd have to pay for each one separately. So either way is fine. Either way works. It's whichever one you would rather do. But I'm going to just do an exhibitor right now because it's just me. So you have to fill out your name. If this is your first time to coming to the site this year, you're going to click I'm new. If you've already registered, remember your password and email address that you put in, because that's how you're going to log back in. But then you can click I have previously registered and log in that way. So then once you're in, you're going to have to fill out all of this information. So you have to give it a password. You have to put in an address. Oh, I always do this. I don't know why it clicks that way. All right. So put in, phone number, email, let's say a date of birth. I'm going to pretend that I'm 12 for this and I'm a junior. I live in Lancaster. On the shirt sizes, be sure to make sure you note there are youth and adult sizes. I'm going to say I passed level 3 just for filling this out purposes, but do fill it out correctly with your information. So once you've filled all this out, it's going to take you to a page. You need to verify this. And one thing I would say for sure, verify that your email address is the correct email address that you want to use. Click continue. And then here's where we're going to start putting in our entries. So from this drop-down list, there is only one option this year. So Fonner Park State 4-H Horse Expo, click on that. And then here you're going to get a long list of classes or groups of classes. So we've split the classes by advancement level and then different categories. So one thing I would recommend is that you go through each one of these and mark every class you want to compete in. Another thing that might be helpful is take and print off a schedule and then highlight every class you would like to compete in. And then make sure as you go through here and you sign up that you check them off, because then that way you know for sure that you are getting signed up for every class that you want to register for. So let's say I'm going to start with these level or my halter. I want to show in some halter and showmanship. And so here is something that you will need to do is if you are using the same horse for multiple classes, then you could click on more than one at a time. If you are using different horses, you would need to do this separately. So for instance, I have an aged gelding. So he's over 11, but I also want to show him in my junior showmanship. So I'm going to click both of those. Again, I said I was from Lancaster. Let me see if I can find it. Lancaster. And this horse, his name is a boy named Sue. So I have my aged gelding and I want to show in showmanship. And remember, I can only do 3 of these classes. So I'm going to add those to my cart because I want to do both of those. However, in that same division, I also have a yearling mare that I want to do the lunging halter. And so that one, her name is Susie. I'm making up a name. And so I am then in this same one going to do it a second time with a different horse. All right, now let's say now I want to do some level 2 classes. And my halter horse that I was just showing, he is a hunt seat horse. So we're going to show him in junior hunt under saddle and junior hunt seat equitation. So that's a boy named Sue. And I'm going to put him in my cart. And then, oh, I didn't mean to click on you. I also have Bingo, who is my Western horse, and I want to show him in ranch, junior ranch pleasure, as well as junior pole build bending and junior barrel racing. So I'm going to show my horse Bingo. So one thing I also didn't mention that I want to mention at this point is, as you notice, I just put one name for my horse. So for instance, if your horse has a show name or a registered name and a barn name, you want to make sure that you are putting into this spot just what you want them to be called at the horse show. So for instance, my horse, a boy named Sue, I call him Sue. I don't call him a boy named Sue, but I want, when they announce his name at the horse show, it's for him to be called a boy named Sue. So that's the name I'm putting on my entry form. So please do not put a boy named Sue and then over to the side, put Sue in quotations. Like, we do not want all of that on the entry form. Also, that makes it really difficult space-wise, because sometimes horses have really long show names and then they also have kind of a long barn name. And so then it doesn't fit in the column and we are going to have to delete one and we have to choose which one, which can be really difficult. So then going back to your ID forms that you filled out, please make sure that you put the same name on your ID form that you put on this. If you want to put two names on your ID form, that is perfectly okay and acceptable, because that ID form is paper. It doesn't really matter for anything. If you want to put a boy named Sue, quotes Sue, that is perfectly acceptable, because then it still says a boy named Sue. It still will match up with your entry form. So one thing, make sure you're thinking about that when you are putting in these entries. Okay, so I did bingo for these classes. Now, I also wanted to just walk through some of these other ones. Let's say I wanted to do some advancement level classes. Well, I showed a boy named Sue in Hunter to Saddle. So I am now not eligible to show a boy named Sue in Advanced Hunter to Saddle. However, if I did want to do Advanced Hunter to Saddle, I could show Bingo, because Bingo was not shown in the level 2 class. So that is something to think about with these level 3 classes. Okay, then the dressage, you can only pick one. You can either show in the level 2 or the level 3. It lists all of these out, but we list them out just so that we can for sure separate them into what they are and we know which pattern these is going to do. So you would choose one, again, add your horse. Those level 3 classes, there's a long list. They do have youth ages for reining, range riding, and trail. So do be sure you sign up for the correct ones. I'm going to show a boy named Sue and Hunter Hack, because he's also a Huntsy horse that does that. But I also think he'd be really good at trail. So I'm going to do some junior trail. So I'm going to add those to my entry form. And then also, if you have a level 4, if you have a Western riding horse, you would click on that. But I didn't complete level 4, so I'm not going to do that. But the last thing, and this is new, and I want to make sure and point it out, is we are also having youth enter in hippology and horse judging at the same time. So hippology and horse judging entries are due by June 1st in show work, similar to all the other state classes. So I clicked on hippology and horse judging, and I'm going to choose, and I'm going to say I'm a junior hippology participant. But for this, there is an additional, instead of putting in a horse name, you have to put in a coach name. So I'm going to say that Grace Kim is my coach. And I can put her email in. Grace Kim's email. And the reason we need you to put in your coach email is that we can make sure we get the correct team members on teams together. So if you have people from all over. This way we can put you in teams. We can contact your coach and say, you have 4 youth competing in junior hippology. Which 2 are on each team? So will you split these and tell us who goes where? Okay, so I'm going to add that entry because I'm also doing hippology. Okay, so that is all my entries that I want to enter. It is a lot of classes. I'm going to click continue. Here's where you're going to see that there is that mandatory office fee. One thing to note, if you do entries and then later you're like, oh, I want to add a class, and you log back in under your original login information and you added an additional class, you won't be recharged that office fee. It is only a one-time fee. Okay, so continue. On this page, it is really important that you check that every class you want to sign up for is on this page. If you read through it, and for instance, it says 11 and older halter guilds, and you realize, oh wait, my horse is only 10. I need to have him in a different halter class. You can edit this by clicking the little yellow pencil and then change this to the 6 to 10-year-old halter geldings and update that entry. And then now you'll see a boy named Sue is in the 6 to 10-year-old halter gelding. So use this edit function. If anything isn't correct, read through each of these. Make sure your horse's name is spelled correctly. Make sure it's the class you want to be in. Make sure it's the correct age class you want to compete in. Because sometimes we accidentally click on the senior and we really are a junior, but do double check all of this information for every single class. And then when you're done and you think everything's in here, you've edited it, you've made sure everything is correct, you're going to click check out. And then you're going to get to the spot where you have to put in your credit card. So I'm going to put in some information here just so we can see what the next step is. This is not a real credit card, so if you copy my number, it will not work. All right, so there. Use my previous address and information. Billing country, United States. Click continue. Once you put in your credit card information, then you are gonna again get a place to check your entries. So again, double check your entries one more time. And we have it this many times because we want you to check it. We want you to make sure it's correct. Go through that schedule, double check that you're entered in everything you want to enter in. And then on this page, we do want you have to sign off that you understand the rules, you understand the regulations, you understand everything related to these classes. So for instance, you can only compete in 1 Western pleasure, 1 ranch pleasure, 1 hunter under saddle, 1 Western horsemanship, 1 Huntsy deck, 1 pole bending, 1 barrel racing. And then you also know that you cannot compete on the same horse in those level 2 classes I just listed and the level 3 advanced classes. So you must ride a different horse. You are going to sign off right now that you are reading this and you understand this. Also, you have to sign off that you can only sign up for 3 in-hand and halter class, like halter showmanship classes. And then also that English and Western dressage, that there will be a level 2, level 3. And then lastly on here is about the 2 and 3-year-old. You know that that horse cannot be ridden by anyone else. You are signing off. You've completed an affidavit. You have stated that you understand these rules. And then the last thing that you are also signing off on is that there are no refunds for any reason. So if you enter a class that you are not eligible to compete in, or you just decide not to compete in a class, you will not get a refund. And so you have double checked this. You know it's right. You know you signed up for things you're eligible to compete in. So once you do that, you have to type yes into this little box that you agree to all of these things. You understand the rules and you understand all of this. And then you're going to click submit. And if you have a real credit card, it will take you to a receipt page, and then it will also email you a receipt. We do recommend that you keep a copy of that receipt. One thing I will mention is then you can also always see your cart over here on the left-hand side as you're running through, and it kind of gives you a running total. If you don't want to check out right then, do click save, and it will save your information, and you can log back in later and fill that out. I am not going to save this because it's not real and I don't want it in there, but that's what you would do to keep it. Okay, so back to our presentation here. So we've already went through all of that because these were slides on how to enter. So after you have done your entries, please double check your receipt, make sure that everything in it is correct and that you signed up for everything you're eligible to sign up and all of those things. Check your spelling of your horse's name and your name, because if you misspell it, that's how it's going to be in the program. And so if in the program at the state horse show, it is misspelled, it is because you misspelled it in the show works when you were entering, because we are not changing that. We are literally copying and pasting over into the entry form. Double check, make sure you've given all your ID forms to your county office. And then lastly, the thing that you want to do to prepare for the state horse show is be sure to make an appointment with your veterinarian so that you can get a 14-day health certificate. It is required that you have a 14-day health certificate with you when you check in. We are going to take a copy of that. So bring copies. We also require a proof of negative Coggins. That is lasts a year. So as long as it's dated within the last year. And again, bring a copy of both of those. We do not want to take your original Coggins. We want you to keep that so you can go to other places. So bring copies for both of those, and you keep the originals. We do not need, but we are going to keep a copy because we need that for our records. If a horse came down and was sick afterwards, we need to be able to go back and verify what we saw, what paperwork was turned in, that all of that was correct. Beforehand. It helps us with biosecurity and keeping some documentation of horses. Another thing on this is there is drug policy for the state horse show. We will do random drug testing throughout the show. And with that, your horse, there is some medications. We realize horses get sore or they may have something where they need some type of medication. There are very strict rules. So be sure if your horse is on a medication that you check those rules and you talk to your veterinarian about it. If they're going to be on any medication at all prescribed by your veterinarian, be sure that that is included on your health certificate, or you have a letter from your veterinarian that you provide at check-in that we will also keep on our files, because if we do drug test your horse and it comes back positive, if you did not note that your horse was taking, had 2 grams of bute for whatever reason, then you potentially would not pass that and we could take away any awards that you have. And we don't want to do that. So if your horse is on bute or Previcox or something like that, or Equiox, that is an allowed medication, please be sure you include that on your health certificate or a letter from your veterinarian. And then also, the next thing to do is to download the app. So you can get to this iOS or Android, type in Nebraska 4-H, and then click on the Nebraska 4-H horse program. And then be sure to click that you allow notifications, because we will send push notifications throughout the week of the horse show with start times and where we are with the show and what's going on. And if you don't have that enabled, you won't get that information. Okay, so lastly, we do have a new rule book this year that came out. We will have copies of it at the state horse show that you can purchase, or if you want one prior, you can go to the UNL marketplace to purchase a rule book. And some important changes that are happening this year are the state horse show will be similar to last year. It will be paperless, except for the exhibitor. The youth will be provided with one program, one pattern book, and then any additional that family or friends, or if you lose yours, if you need an additional program or pattern book, there will be some at the show, but they will be a charge to get those. It is one area where it costs us thousands of dollars to put those together and print them, which is crazy to me. But due to that, we do have to charge for any extra that are given out. I already discussed the level 2 and level 3 dressage. I already discussed that hippology and horse judging, the results will be on Monday rather than on Sunday evening. And then one other rule change that was in the rulebook is we did add some clarification to aids utilized in speed. So for instance, the bat requirements and what we had lots of questions last year related to how long can the bat be, or where do you start measuring the bat, or the cork, or those kinds of things. So this year it's in there, it is more clearly noted. Some other changes that will be more related to the 4-H rodeo, but just so you know, goat tying will be split by pigging string or non-pigging string instead of by a girl or boy or by age only. So that is something to note. Boys can compete in with a pigging string or non-pigging string, and girls can compete with a pigging string or non-pigging string. There's also going to be an added boxing class, and so we added rules related to that. And then again, that clarification on speed. So that is everything I have related to the State Horse Show. If you have any questions when doing your entries, please email myself, Dr. Lena Luck. My email is Lena, L-E-N-A Luck, L-U-C-K @unl.edu, or you can email Grace Kim, Grace, Grace Kim, Kim @unl.edu, and we can help you with getting your entry submitted. Well, thank you, and I hope this was informative and helpful.